Whether you're choosing shoes, items on a menu, or a new TV subscription service, you are constantly making decisions. Your brain is constantly processing different outcomes, weighing up the best possible scenario. There's an old episode of The Simpsons where the whole family visit a supermarket called Monster Mart. The slogan was, "Where shopping is a baffling ordeal." Product choice was unlimited, shelving reaching the ceiling, and Monty Burns has trouble deciding between two similarly named bottles of ketchup. In the end, The Simpsons returned to Apu's Quickie Mart, opting for a simpler choice, which is the main premise of this video. We all have the freedom of choice to make our own decisions in line with our own individual preferences. And with that, we expect an increase in well-being and happiness. We expect the best. This is also seen in our economic climate that offers maximum variety, catering to endless possible options. Let's take Starbucks for example. They proudly advertise a choice of 80,000 different drink combinations. Does this lead to high satisfaction or customer confusion? I recently read the book The Paradox of Choice by Barry Schwartz, and he argues that we end up less satisfied with the result of the choice than we could have been with fewer options to choose from. When there are lots of alternatives to consider, it's easy to imagine the attractive features of alternatives that you reject that can make you less satisfied with the alternative that you've chosen. So in the case of Starbucks, you could choose something but be left in disappointment because you may be feeling that you've made a bad choice. With all those amazing choices, how did you mess it up? Schwartz then goes on to explain his experience with denim shopping. He had several options to choose from: stone-washed, straight-legged, boot-cut, distressed, zip-fly, and when he left the store he was more dissatisfied than when he had fewer options. Has this ever happened to you where you're scrolling, flicking through Netflix or cable TV for the perfect program or film, and you spend a good 10 minutes, even more in some cases, only to end up not to bother with anything? That's a waste of time. And to make matters worse, you're constantly bombarded with other online video streaming services, giving you more options, more choice, and feeding into your fear that you're going to miss out if you don't sign up to these services. The pressure to choose from more, have more, be more has always personally been a weight on me. The pressure to achieve and to decide quickly. Making a decision is more than just analysing the facts and weighing up the pros and cons. So when you're stuck in indecision, how can you tune out the noise and make better ones? Approach problems with an iterative mindset. Decisions are most difficult when uncertainty is greatest. We often base our choices off the assumptions that we may not be accurate. We try to compensate by digging further and further into research and wasting more time, but the majority of the time we only know by taking action. This concept is mostly associated with software development and particularly fast-moving startups. So instead of wasting time trying to make the perfect decision, follow the iterative approach. This focuses on producing a minimum viable product. Getting an imperfect product out allows you to test your assumptions and get some feedback. There's always ways to test an idea that you're thinking of on a smaller scale. Initially, when I started my freelance career, I didn't have a portfolio to a professional standard. What I had to do was create a minimum viable product, which was something that I did from going to events that I paid for. Anything that I could produce to show that what I could do for a client. I used that for my initial portfolio. Some other areas to make better choices is to intentionally limit your consumption of information. For any problem we face, there are virtually limitless supply of information we could delve into. Where there is less choice, expectations are lowered. Therefore, we are able to be pleasantly surprised when the outcome turns out to be better than expected. As Barry Schwartz states, as the number of choices grows further, the negatives escalate until we become overloaded. At this point, choice no longer liberates, but debilitates. Practice being less than perfect. Again, you can start small and work your way up, but the goal is lowering your expectations, feeling more comfortable making mistakes, deciding that not everything is equally as important. Recognize that the moons will never align. No matter how much information you have, there will always be more. Decisions will never be optimal for this very reason. There are, however, optimal moments during which decisions can be made. Remember, just because you arrive at the conclusion doesn't mean you can never adapt to a new one. This quote from Ed Batista really resonated with me. Before we make any decision, particularly one that will be difficult to undo, we are understandably anxious and focused on identifying the best option possible. But a byproduct of that mindset is that we overemphasize the moment of choice and lose sight of everything that follows. Merely selecting the best option doesn't guarantee that things will turn out well in the long run. Just as making a suboptimal choice doesn't doom us to failure or unhappiness. It's what happens next, and in the days, months and years that follow, that ultimately determines whether a given decision was right. So don't overthink your outcomes of your decisions, because this will be impossible to predict any type of future. We can sometimes get trapped in the paranoia about having to make decisions now. Some people get so tired of thinking about all the possible outcomes of their choices, they immediately make decisions on impulse instead of dealing with the rough process of making a decision. It's okay to make a decision quickly, and it can sometimes be better to make no decision at all. However, if you have a history of making the wrong choices based on impulse, it's better to think it out a little more. Impulse decisions based on desperation and fear, or when we are anxious, tend to lead to poor decisions. Or at least decisions that are focused on the short-term results. If we're already stressed about money, life, or work commitments, it's only natural that this will have an effect on our decision making. Follow a balance between listening to your mind and trusting your instincts. When it comes to making the right decisions for yourself, you need to follow both your mind and your instincts. The best outcomes come from striking a good balance between the two. Logic alone will convince you to make a safer choice, which may not allow you to follow your passions. You also may end up stuck making no decision because you'll convince yourself the more information will help you make an easier choice. On the other hand, going completely with your gut feeling can lead you to make an impulse decision. That's why it's important to listen to all aspects of yourself when making major decisions. The main takeaway that I want to communicate over in this video is that simpler options lead to easier and quicker decisions. When you're making a decision, you're often considering all the options that are available to you. We imagine our future after making a decision, and then we try to feel how much regret we would feel. We then do that in a different scenario and then compare. Having the choice isn't inherently bad, it's having too many choices that lead to confusion. We all deserve to express ourselves in our own unique way. We just need to find a healthy compromise. Having choices isn't inherently a bad thing. It's just that too many choices lead to confusion. Anyways guys, I hope you liked this video. Please smash that like button, and if you have any suggestions or want to say hello, please comment below, and I'll see you guys in another one. Bye bye.